We're going to go ahead and kick it off. We'll let the stragglers hop in as they get here. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to the weekly Lead Champ Pro call. Super excited to have everyone that is joining us live. If you ever want to join us live, every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern, leadchampliveddials.com. Join us on the live Zoom for the recording. If you're watching this recording, welcome in. Glad to have all of you guys. And by the way, if you are taking a look at Lead Champ and you want to meet with us and see more about what we can do to help you take your agency to the next level, meet with me. Book a demo on my calendar, leadchamppro.com, and click book a demo. All right, today, guys, we have a very, very exciting call for you guys. We have, in fact, the new Connect Power Dialer that we are releasing. And we actually have the gentleman who helped us put it together on the call today. So first, I want to bring on Josh and Jamie, Josh Lockhart, Jamie Cheerio, the co-founders and creators of Lead Champ Pro. You guys know them, you love them. They sell a ton of insurance. They're building big agencies, and they are constantly helping every single one of us to go out and use Lead Champ Pro to take our business to the next level. So Josh, Jamie, thank you so much for being on. I will pass it over to y'all.
Appreciate it. How we doing, everybody? All right. So first things first, let's start out with some good news for the week. So last week, if you joined us on the call, you got to see the new launch of the referral, beneficiary, and ERN, emergency response network buttons in the system. Basically, a great way for you to go out there and get free leads. So anybody who was on last week, they heard my training that I did. It was nothing special in regards to how I was able to sell over 10,000 last week in basically free leads. We had Derek Robeson, who I think in the last couple days has sold 5,000 in beneficiaries. And I'm going to do some recognition here for a few people who have sold off of the beneficiary leads. So Adam Mostel, top producer in the company, crushes it on leads. For him, this was just a mind-blowing experience because he was able to, go out there, and I think he's closed 2 or 3 beneficiaries at this point. So he says, beneficiary network is a game changer. Beneficiary is a beneficiary is a beneficiary. I was joking around with him and Josh. If anyone's ever seen Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, like, dream inside a dream, we got to go deeper. So how many beneficiaries can we go? Can't wait to see, who's going to be on like the 12th level beneficiary from making a sale, which is super incredible. Another one that we have here, Derek, another one sold. It was his 3rd beneficiary from one guy. And then I had one as well that was $3,300. So between the original lead and the beneficiary, it was over $5,000 off of one lead. So the beneficiary button specifically, again, I'll just touch on it before we start to kind of intro this. That beneficiary button is an absolute game changer. The referral button, the ERN button, those are great too. For somebody who has the discipline and the courage to actually ask somebody for a referral. But for anyone who's lazy like me, I get the beneficiary every single time. It's low-hanging fruit. Of all the beneficiary appointments that I've done, I think I've done 9 at this point. I've sold 5 of them, and every single one of them showed up. No-shows so far, which is incredible. And of the ones that I couldn't sell, there was 2 that couldn't qualify, who I submitted applications for. So really, I submitted 7 applications on 9 appointments. 5 got approved on the spot. That's all free leads that would have never happened if I didn't ask somebody for their beneficiary. So absolute game changer. Josh, any thoughts on that before we jump into it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yes, it's a game changer if you're not taking the time to, get the more than one beneficiary, because everybody should have more than one. Number 2, get their numbers. You're really just doing a disservice to the client, but like you should be doing that. So slow down. Your goal should be to get 2 or 3 each time. And then in annual reviews, I know a lot of people they feel like annual reviews are something that we should do, but they're not really getting anything out of it. They don't know how to go about it. We kind of put it off. Now Lead Champ is going to kind of force you to do that. It's going to bug you until you do it. But now I did some this week, and we had beneficiaries listed, and I was like, well, who else do you want to notify if you're not around? And they're like, oh, my brother, my sister. And so those are ERN contacts. And so now, even if you don't, get an additional sale, but you get 2, 3, 4 more contacts that you can put in the system, it can book appointments for you. Like, why wouldn't you do that? It's such low effort. So very, very excited about it.
Incredible. All right, we're gonna get this kicked off. We're gonna bring on Mark here in a moment. We're just gonna get a clean intro here because we're gonna be using this video for demos for this dialer here moving forward. So here we go. What's going on, everybody? Lead Champ team, excited to be here. I'm Jamie Cheerio. I've got my co-founder and partner here, Josh Lockhart, and we're excited to introduce you guys to the Connect Power Dialer, and we're super excited to have our special guest, Mark Helton, on, who is the developer who has helped build this entire thing. So I just kind of want, Josh, let's kind of preface this. Let's talk a little bit about, why we created this before we bring on Mark, some of the problems that maybe we've experienced in this industry, from hand dialing to previous dialer solutions, integration, local presence, price, complexity, custom fields, notes, what kind of brought us to needing this solution?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, with all the technology, texting, AI, all the things, right? At the end of the day, as an insurance agent, insurance broker, you still need to pick up the phone and dial the phone. And especially in the beginning, when you're trying to, kind of get the rock moving so you can start, getting clients and talking to people, like you have to dial the phone a lot. There's just no way around that. And yeah, hand dialing, right? Like it's a whole thing. And you don't want your cell phone to go to spam. And these days it's very easy to do. So, very quickly, all agents are going to find themselves like going, hey, I need some kind of power dialer solution. There's a bunch of them out there. We've used them, ones that are very, very simple. And we've used those. I've used them, some of those solutions for years, and they're fine. But then you go, okay, well, I got all these contacts. I need to put them somewhere. So you get a CRM, and then you're like, oh, my power dialer doesn't integrate with my CRM. So I got a list over here, a list over here, and everything's a mess. So then you start looking, you go, okay, well, this dialer here integrates. And that word integrate is such a funny word, because, it's like there's a spectrum of what integrates. It's like, okay, it'll pass a piece of data back and forth, right? That doesn't mean it integrates the way we want it to, right? Which means it passes our contacts back and forth. It keeps everything organized back and forth. And there's like so many different levels of that. So some of the solutions that we've tried in the past, right? They quote integrate, but they really effectively don't do anything. You can't send your contacts over, or they do, but like you're in the dial. Has anybody ever been in a dial session on a platform and it's like it comes up on the screen and you don't, it's like, what kind of lead is this? Is it mortgage protection lead? Is it final expense lead? What's their hobby, or what's the custom field question that ask them to kind of jog their memory? You don't know. It doesn't have it on there, right? And so there was a few things that we were really frustrated about. We're like, okay, there's got to be a perfect fit out there. And that was one thing, is like, does it easily integrate? And so in the past, we built like custom integrations based on webhooks and this whole web of workflows that took our team, hours to put together. And that was a huge hassle, right? So like that was one. How easy is it to sync up our leads with whatever system we use? Another one is like, and you find this out, 5 minutes into dialing, is going to spam. Like, oh my gosh. I remember starting out 4+ years ago, Jamie, and it was like, I called you one day and I was like, no one's answering. You're like, did your number go to spam? I'm like, what do you mean? Is that a thing? And so it's a constant battle to make sure you're going to spam. Now, a lot of what we've kind of come to find out is there's a lot of dialer solutions out there that say, hey, we have local presence, but you're still going to spam 10% of the time. So like, how worth it is that? So like that was a thing. And then in the world that we live in now, where AI is more prevalent and we have AI texting and booking appointments, I'm like, man, there's got to be, as we're building teams and we're trying to help agents, and you just can't be there next to them at all hours of the time. It'd be nice to have some kind of like AI summary thing where I can, get a recording from an agent, or help them understand what they did wrong, because I know they exist. And so there's all these little components that we're like, there's got to be something that kind of checks the box. And we really felt like we've kind of figured that out and found that with our current Connect Dialer solution.
100%. So, I mean, we'll just get into it. I'm excited to bring on the founder of a system called the Hot Prospector. So, just like we have partnered up with Go High Level to build Lead Champ Pro, and we're super forward about that. We're not hiding anything. You know, what makes Lead Champ Pro not just another high level system? Well, if you've been here for a while, you know there's a lot of nuance to this. It's what you do with that system. So, Hot Prospector is a dialing platform similar to Go High Level in the sense that we can do whatever we want with it. And we partnered up with Mark, who's an incredible individual who's got a lot of background in the outbound sales, side of things that, a lot of us don't. We sell insurance. I don't know how to go and not get Mark spam. So let's go ahead and bring on Mark. Nick, if you could pin his video. There's Mark. What's up, Mark?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Perfect.
Well, Mark,
Nice,
I'd love
nice
if
to
you
be
could
here.
just thank you so much. I'd love if you could just give us a little bit of your background. I think in our business, a lot of the times when it comes to insurance sales, it's like, hey, if they're not selling 30, 40K a month, don't even listen to them. Like, without tooting your horn too much, but like from an outbound sales side of things, not getting marked spam, like what's your background, what's your credentials, and why should they listen?
Yeah, so well, first of all, I like to kind of boast about the fact that Hot Prospector was built by closers for closers, right? Like we have a lot of things going on every day, and we don't need to be stuck with a bunch of tech to figure out and manage. And so everything that we put together for you guys is really with that in mind. It's about speed. It's about efficiency. It's about ease of use. Now that don't let that fool you. It's not like some very basic system. There's a lot that goes into setting everything up. As Jamie and Joshua know, we've been working on getting everything finely tuned for you guys now for quite some time. So once you guys get in here, it's going to be perfect. Yeah, I like the word robust. This thing is going to be perfect for you, set up the way it should be for life insurance without you having to do a whole bunch of work. My background, I started in sales like, I don't even like to say how long ago it's been because it really ages me, but I started in sales like 26 years ago. My very first job was pounding the phone, calling B2B, selling something that was really like difficult to sell back then because there was everybody selling it. I don't know. Does anybody here have that happening to them right now where you feel like you're in a very what is it? What's the word? Competitive. We'll just
Competitive.
saturated is what we use. I just don't like to use that word, but yeah, saturated, competitive, whatever. You're in one of those industries, right? I did that, and for us, in order to be competitive, you had to be able to make lots of phone calls. You had to have the ability to get a hold of lots of decision makers, and that meant a lot of time on the phone. So I couldn't do it without a dialer. So after getting that nice framework or that process in place for me over the first part of my sales career, it kind of stuck with me. And after I started my own agency, not life insurance agency, but marketing agency in 2010. I went out to try to find the perfect dialer for us then, and there wasn't one. We tried, different solutions that were white labeled, tried, using those, but they just weren't perfect. They weren't the great, right solution for being able to prioritize leads and making sure we had the right cadences and just all of these other things. So we started building our own solution. And one day, somebody who was in the industry saw our system and said, "Hey, I'd pay you for that." And I was like, "Really? Okay, let's talk." So fast forward to today. Now, Hot Prospector is available. And you guys can use it in your business. We are constantly improving and iterating. We take your feedback very seriously. My goal, I already know, like there's no perfect solution today, and it's not going to be perfect tomorrow. Just keep on giving us your feedback. We are open to implementing it and making our system to taking our system to the point where it needs to be for you. I don't know. Does that help, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'll let you kind of guide this, Jamie, but I'll say I'm in here today and I have some of my team members in dialing on my account, and this is crazy. Like the data that you guys provide, I've just never been in any kind of system that has that much. So I'm watching, all the dashboard here, and it's like how much time they've spent on the phone, how much gaps of time they haven't been on the phone, and all the different things. And this is wild. So this is very exciting. Um, what I guess one of the first things, and then I'll pass it back to you, Jamie, is when we first talked to you, you really gave us a lot of information, things that we weren't aware of, as far as like going to spam, what is shake and stir, what, having numbers registered. Like this is all stuff that, this community here, we like hear about and like we think we know about. But then you just gave us a bunch of information. We're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that makes total sense. We had no idea. And it was like, remember some of the things again about, we can talk about registering numbers, what that means, why that is what it is. And you said some things like, such a low percentage of the people that use the platform go to spam, why that is, and some of those things, if you could talk on it.
Sure. So when it comes to being answered, right? Like getting an answer, there's a lot that goes into it. And most people lean towards the I guess the simple side of that, which is basically just like, hey, let me rotate my numbers. And yeah, Hot Prospector, we have the technology built in that's going to give you the ability to do that. But there's a lot more that you really need to take care of, that is going to make sure that um, continues into the future, right? Like you could start doing things right in the very beginning, but then it'll slowly start to slide off of course really quickly. And then before you know it, because you're not paying attention to it, you're like, why are my sales low this month? And then you start diving into the numbers, you realize nobody's answering my calls. And that's a little late to start fixing things, right? So what my model has always been is like starting out right up front, doing everything right, and keeping the ship on track, right? Keeping it focused on going in the right direction, and then best practices, so that way you don't have to worry about that happening. So first thing, whenever somebody gets set up, my suggestion for them to do, number one, is the registration for compliance type things that you have to do nowadays, which is stir shaken. That's a normal thing. That's actually taken care of via the API. So you don't really have to do anything. Just got to go in and click a couple buttons. And I'm not sure how much of that you guys are doing up front, Jamie, on your side.
Yeah, basically they log in and just fill out that form.
Okay. So yeah, that part's pretty simple, straightforward. There's also some call integrity type of features that have also been kind of connected into the API that's being offered by the carrier, or by the provider. But aside from that, there are some essentials that you really should take into your own hands when you first sign up. And that is, and you might want to take notes on these things because they're really super powerful. The first one is I would go to First Orion. It's FIRSTORION.com. Now you have an option here. It's up to you, right?
Let
You
me
can
let me make
just
a quick note on that. So the website he just mentioned, if inside of Lead Champ, if you go to the launch pad, go down, there's a call registry and there's a document with all the registry sites he's talking about right now.
yeah. So and I'm going to try my best to keep it simple because I can go into a bunch of detail here that may not even be necessary, but it's a good thing for you to understand this process. If anybody here has ever sent a lot of emails, you know that sometimes your emails go right to spam, or in a best case, your emails might go into what's like in Gmail promotions folder, right? And a lot of people aren't even really aware this is not even something that Gmail or the email service provider is actually handling. This is being done by outside data providers. that are contracted by these service providers to help them analyze the emailers that are sending email. Well, the same thing happens with calls. So First Orion is one of those such providers too. They actually work directly with T-Mobile, and then the other one is Haya, and they work with Verizon. Okay, so if you're gonna get your calls like as close to perfect as possible, you should go to those two data sources and say, hey, hi, my name's Mark. This is what we do. These are my phone numbers. Can you put them in your list? Right? And say, we're good. So my suggestion is, yeah, that's perfect. Go to First Orion, sign up for it, at the very least, the free account, and tell them all about your business, or whatever they want to know, how you get your leads and stuff, and then tell them your provider of your phone, which is going to be Twilio, and then give them your phone numbers, and that's it. You just do that one time. Once you've done that, you're pretty much good to go, at least in the very beginning, and that could be where it ends. However, something to consider if you really want to make sure that everything's simple over time is you can sign up for the paid account that they offer, which is it's not very expensive, honestly, if you think about the difference in, what it could do for your bottom line. I think it's like $30 a month for the basic account. And what they do for that amount is every day they kind of inform T-Mobile that your numbers are good. So if somebody reported you, or it's not even if somebody reported you, what happens is the carriers might misidentify you as potential spam because of your dialing behavior, which we can get into that. That's a little bit kind of the next thing I wanted to talk about is best practices. But starting out in the very beginning, the best thing to do right up front is to do that registration and tell them who you are.
You're going to go into dial behavior. I think this is a good transition. So let me tell you what our typical dial behavior is. So when I first got started in the business, I was told to hand dial a list of leads and call them 3 times in a row, no matter what. And then I remember I was afraid to call people 3 times in a row. And one of my mentors is on here. He's like, dude, if you're afraid to call them 3 times in a row, you should call them 4 times in a row. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it got to the point where like people would hang up on me and I'd call them back 27 times in a row. I didn't really care. All I wanted to do was get the person on the phone. That worked out well for me. That was 4 years ago. Spam protection's gotten worse. It's gotten harder. My personal cell phone, more than likely up until the point where I registered it, got it with First Orion, got the Living Hope Life Group to come across the caller ID. It was all marked spam. So knowing that, our personal advice to agents typically is to call people 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row, and then move on to the next lead. What advice would you, what's that doing to us? As much as we think that we're being productive, is there maybe a better dial cadence that we could be following?
Yeah, so let me go in a little bit more into detail on like these providers, First Orion and Haya, because this is something that Joshua was just showing was it Joshua who was showing the dashboard, or Jamie showing the dashboard of First Orion. And I don't know if you guys looked at the data, the reports there. Do you have access to that?
Maybe. Yeah, I can go to the report right now.
If you do, if not, I mean, I can also show ours.
Yeah.
So while you're pulling that up, somebody asked a question about registering the numbers that you get through the dialer. So yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to register the numbers you get into the dialer, in the dialer, and any numbers that you're using for that matter. If you're using your cell phone, might as well register it. It's just not going to be Twilio. It'll be whoever your cell phone provider is. Yeah. So see the data here, that's on the screen. The reason why I like showing this is because it really puts things into context of what these providers or what these data companies have on us, right? They know who you are, how many calls you're making, who you're calling, what's happening when you call, all of that stuff. Okay. So, you could see how many people declined, you could see your talk rate, you could see your engagement rate, you could see your contact rate, all of those things right there. So imagine if they know this much information about you, what they're able to do when you try to make phone calls. They can easily block you, right? So when you're making calls and you're doing things that traditionally or typically get picked up as that's a spammer, then your footprint is falling in with those spammers, and you're basically working against yourself, right? So if somebody who's typically a spammer calls 2, 3, 4 times in a row and hangs up, then boom, you're going to be instantly a spammer right away. So what happens is when you first purchase your number, there is no data on you. That number's been sitting in mothballs for months, and now all of a sudden you start making phone calls. So you have to warm that number up, even though you've registered it. You have to warm that number up. You don't want to just get that number and start making 10,000 calls. You want to kind of step it up. But on top of that, you're building a reputation at the same time. So if I'm calling, the first time I call, what I typically do is if I get a voicemail, I wait until the end of that voicemail. If I don't want to leave a voicemail, I wait until the end of that voicemail, hang up. Usually I'm going to leave a voicemail anyways, the first time I call. And if you want to double dial, okay, fine. But you got to make sure that those average calls are at least 20 seconds or so, 20, right in that neighborhood. Because the typical dialer, predictive dialer, any of those types of things are hanging up on a call within 6 seconds. So that's like about as far as I would go. Quadruple dialing, whatever the numbers are from there, I would definitely refrain against it. But from what we've found, and we've done some data research into the numbers on leads. And what we found is that the leads that convert are called with a specific cadence. Number one, to get the highest level of answers, call within a minute, right? As soon as that lead pops into your system, you got to be dialing it. Number two, show your caller ID, right? Number three, if they don't answer on that first call, we found 30 minutes is the number that you should be calling back. Don't call back instantly, call back 30 minutes later. So if somebody filled out the form and they didn't answer that call, they saw your phone call. They saw that you called. And if you left a voicemail, they're going to see the notification. Maybe they were busy, right? But if you call back again in 30 minutes, they're going to see that number. And if they didn't see the voicemail or what have you, they're going to see that it came through again. And that is less, for some reason, it's less annoying. Whatever it is, they tend to pick up on that second call. The third call should be done that same day, and that should be done around a 1.5 to 2 hour range later. So all of those first calls, day one, should be within the first 3 hours of when they opted in. And then the cadence from then on is 2 times a day, like morning, evening type of thing.
Understood. Any other, kind of best dial practices that we can kind of recommend?
Yeah, so when it comes to the cadence, and this is another, we by the way, this is not a guess, we took 50,000 leads that converted and said, why did they convert? And we took all the data from those conversions. And so that's where I'm getting all of this. It's based off of, 50,000 converted leads. But what we found is that leads tend to fall off in conversion right around 5 to 7 attempts, which is usually right around day 3. It just drops completely. It's not like they don't convert, but the numbers get so low that it's maybe not the best use of your time to keep on trying to dial them. But what we did find is that if you call the lead again after 3 weeks, it picks back up again. So, and usually it takes a few calls after that amount of time to get the conversions again on that 3-week period. So if it were me and I'm dialing my own leads, I'm going to hit them hard for the first 3 days, maybe 5, stop right around 8 to 10. And then if they don't pick up by then, I'm gonna put them on a wait. I'm gonna just pause calling them, and I'm gonna pick up and call them again in 3 weeks. And I'll call them at least 6 times in 3 weeks.
100%. I like it. Well, here, Mark, I'm going to screen share. I'm going to pop us into the dialer real quick. I'm going to explain some of these dialer buckets that we've created, kind of how we set that up for everybody. And then I'm going to pull up one of the dialer screens, and I'd love if you could just walk us through some of the data, the custom fields, all that stuff, how speed to lead is happening. I think that would be kind of a powerful thing. So if you're in here for the first time, welcome to the Connect Power Dialer, powered by Hot Prospector. So here are your dialer campaigns. So you've seen we've split this up into a handful of different buckets based on age. So if you've been inside of Lead Champ Pro, which I assume most of you guys have, if you go to our pipeline, we've got new leads, second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, fifth attempt, and that's great if you're just kind of hand dialing, and you're just popping people into buckets. But there's times when I have a new lead that's coming in the last 7 days, and I dial them a handful of times and I move them over to 8th attempt now. And now that they're in that 8th attempt bucket, they might still only be 5 days old. Like I was taught when I first got started, dial the newest, most expensive lead first before you dial your aged leads. But I was treating that 8th stage bucket like they were all aged leads, because I was doing it based on the number of attempts. So yeah, we're tracking attempts. That's great. It's going to match up to what's in your lead champ. But the way that we set this up is we've got your leads that have come in the last 7 days, which we're going to call your fresh leads, your leads that are 8 to 30 days old, which we're going to call your warm leads, your 31 to 90 day old leads, your aged leads, and then your 90-day plus, age 90 plus, and then your no-shows. So, Josh and I have talked about this pretty extensively. If I came in here, or I'm going to train my dialer, what am I going to do? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buzz through my newest, most expensive leads first. Then I'm going to call my no-shows for a period of time. You want to know why? Because this is someone who's already answered the phone. They've proven they're the type of person who answers phone numbers they don't recognize and set appointments. Now, they suck at showing up. That's one thing, but they answer the phone. These people here in the middle, they're people who don't answer the phone. Like, this is after I haven't gotten a hold of anybody, or I've buzzed through all these other lists. I'm going to go through some of these aged leads. So call my newest, most expensive leads first, call my no-shows, then call my aged leads. That's the kind of the cadence that we can go ahead and go through. New lead that just came in, Kathy, as you guys can see. I mean, Mark, maybe you can just give us a little tour here. A lot of data that's pulling in from Go High Level. So what are we seeing here?
So everything that you see on this screen is going to be real time, always with whatever is inside of High Level. So any updated things that might have come through, any text messages that you've received, any notes that were automatically added, anything, it's going to be matched up exactly here inside of the dialer. You also see up at the top right-hand side those notifications for text messages that have come in from leads that are inside of that campaign. So it's kind of like one central hub for you to be able to see and, to answer any communications, whether it be making that outbound call in the dialer, receiving an inbound call that comes in from this, from the lead, or a text message that comes in as well. So really, you could just stay right here inside of this screen all day long and handle everything, any inbound communications as well as your outbound.
Just to throw one thing, guys. So basically, on a real basic level, if you send a text message in here, it's sending in your lead champ and back and forth. You're going to see both on both sides. If you send a text message in here, it's going to send from your lead champ number, not the same number that you're dialing from in here. If you make a note in lead champ, it's going to bring that note in here. If you make a note in here, it's going to put it back in lead champ. This was one thing I didn't realize. I had somebody who put a wrong number in here, Mark, and I went to one of those fast people searches and realized that it was one number off. And all I did was just update the number by one number in here. And I clicked back over to the high level screen and it was already updated in high level. Like I wasn't expecting the fields to update that fast. Like it was a matter of seconds, which was wild. One of the other big pet peeves that we have with other dialers, Mark, is that all of us bring in leads from different sources that have different custom fields, different questions. Everybody's got a spreadsheet of some sort or a Facebook campaign with a what's your favorite hobby, what's your primary goal, etc. And one of the things that I really loved is that you could come in and you could add any of those custom fields. So you obviously have, the custom field spot here where we've got hundreds of custom fields, so no need to go look through all of these. But I just went in, I searched, primary goal, because I had a primary goal of my IUL, and then I've got here lead info. I've got what's their age range, what's their primary goal, their approximate yearly income, the lead type, and their occupation. When my leads come in, that's the information that I want to see. So if you're dialing IUL leads, bring them whatever questions. I hooked up Sheila's the other day and she had, a couple of questions in there. What branch of the military did you serve in? That's now on this screen. Or what's your favorite hobby for a final expense leader? How much do you owe on your mortgage for a mortgage protection lead? And when I was in previous dialer solutions, Mark, I knew nothing else about them. And I had to have 2 screens open. And it required me, I've got a 3-monitor setup and I had to have all my monitors up to be able to do what I wanted to do. And I would have Lead Champ open in one window and my power dialer open in the next window. And I'm quickly let me disposition next on both of them. So I'm trying to match them up so I can see the notes over here, because I know when I dial and I bring and I say, hey, Kathy, this is Jamie. This is the one where you put down that you're a book processor for your occupation. When I say something that was on her survey, it brings it back to top of mind. But when I'm where's the lead? And I'm jumping back and forth between systems, I'm not as smooth and the person hangs up or whatever the thing is. So having access to that information quickly is a really big deal. So I do appreciate how this was built. One of the other things, and I think this is great, if anybody cares about speed and efficiency, the update status. So I can click the dial, and I won't call this person, but we'll click and hang up. And then I can say what happened. And I can click or I can use my keyboard. So if I don't want to do a bunch of clicking, Shift A, no answer, Shift B, not interested, which is nice to be able to go ahead and do that right from the keyboard. So any buttons on here, Mark, that we should be highlighting? Of course, we can send text messages. We can book the appointment in here as well. So if you book the appointment in here, make sure you click appointment calendar. This will go in and it will check your Lead Champ calendar. It'll check, you can see here, it's got my availability. I've got a couple appointments throughout the day, so it's making sure it's not booking on those times, and it'll automatically trigger your Lead Champ, appointment notifications. Anything else in here that we should highlight, Mark?
You said so much. It's I do want to say a couple of things about what you said, because, a lot of times people have asked us, can we, dial this inside of GHL? The reason why it's separate is because, Lead Champ Pro is not really it's not really set up the way it needs to be for efficiency on a sales side of things. And there's a lot of things that you want to see on one screen. So in order to make it easy for you to be able to get all the things that you need to have in one area, as you can see, you don't have to scroll around, you don't have to click around, it's all accessible in that one area. And one thing that's not here is your sales scripts, right? You can actually have this set up to where, based off of the type of lead it is, whatever it is that you're selling, the proper script's going to pop up automatically, so you know what you're supposed to be talking about without having to guess, right? Without having to think. The idea behind the dialer itself is that it's how can we make it super easy so that way you can get the most out of yourself. As far as those other things that you were clicking on, I mean, having the ability to book an appointment, that's one of my favorite things. My top favorite thing as a salesperson is the callback feature, because as much as I'd love to say every single call is a one call close, you got to schedule callbacks. It happens. And as a salesperson, I personally tend to get a little sidetracked. And unless something is being delivered up to me, served up to me, I might forget. So with the callbacks, what's nice about this is it's going to automatically serve up that lead at the time that it's supposed to be scheduled up or served up, no matter which campaign you're in. So if I'm in this campaign, I schedule a callback, and then I'm in the age lead campaign, it's going to show me you have a callback. As long as I'm logged into the dialer, you have a callback in this campaign, and you could just click the button. It'll take you to the proper campaign. We also just added a feature, which I don't know if you guys got a notification on that, Jamie, but it is notifications. You can now set notifications for callbacks to yourself and to your lead. So sometimes a client will forget that they said, call me back. So you can actually schedule a callback and it sends them a text 5-10 minutes before the callback just saying, hey, reminder, I'll be calling you in 5 minutes. And yeah, so those are probably my two favorite features, the scripting and the callbacks from a sales perspective. And then one more thing I want to say about having access to everything in here is the cadencing. Everything's automatically served up for you. When a new lead pops up or a new lead comes in the system, it's going to pop up immediately. When a lead should be called back because of the cadence, the proper cadencing of, call it back in 30 minutes, call back in an hour and a half, call it back in the next day, all that's being done for you. So you don't have to, schedule callbacks or anything. You just disposition the lead. If they didn't answer, you click no answer on the call status and it goes to the next lead, and that lead's going to be called again when it's supposed to be called.
Yeah, 100%. We've got a voicemail drop option in here. So if anyone wants to go ahead and record a voicemail, you can go ahead and, as soon as that person's voicemail comes on, you basically click here. It'll drop whatever voicemail you recorded and it'll move on to the next call and it'll leave that voicemail for you. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes. Voicemail is actually the best way to do that, by the way, is wait until the beep. And
wait until it. Got it. You've got the dial pad here, so in case you want to just go ahead and dial something else out of here. This isn't something that we're talking too much about, but in the future, we do have the option to create live and warm transfers. So that ability is built in here. We can talk a little bit more about it for anybody who wants to potentially customize that. We don't currently have a lot of demand for that, but if it comes up, we're happy to help you guys set up that feature. It's there. Okay. Other than that, I think, we just want to get you guys in here. I got a couple more questions for you, Mark. Let me pull up my list here. Okay, speed to lead. Talk to us a little bit about that. So how quickly, let's say I have a lead coming in off of Facebook and then I'm dialing in a dial campaign right now. I'm dialing in my under 7-day fresh campaign, and then that new lead comes in and I got 60 leads in the fresh list and new lead comes in. Do I have to go all the way to the bottom of the list and come back to the top to get that new lead, or what happens?
Yeah, no, the leads are instantly prioritized. So let's say that, we'll just look at it like a list of 100 leads. Let's say you're 20 down on your list for the day. You've dialed 20 leads. And at that time, somebody opts in your Facebook campaign and you're on a call. You finish that call. As soon as you disposition that call, the next lead that's going to pop up is going to be that one that just came in. So there's no, you don't have to, have like a Slack workaround or something like that, or notifications or anything like that that tells you have a new lead. The system just delivers it up instantly.
I love it. Okay, this is one thing that we get from a lot of people is they'll jump into our system and they'll see, we used the word robust before. This is also pretty robust in terms of what it can do. But for someone who we get the people who go, I'm not a techie. What would be your advice for them? Because what I showed was pretty simple. All they have to do is go in there and click play. Any advice for that person?
So the bullet has been bit by you and Joshua taking the time to set most of this stuff up for them. So really, mostly the hardest lift of getting this set up is the beginning thing. Getting the dialer campaigns, thinking through how I'm going to cadence my leads, thinking through what, all of those processes. That's the big thing. But the good news is you've already done all of those things. So really for them to be able to get in and dial, it's kind of just, going in and pushing the play button. You start the campaign. It's knowing how to use the dialer. So if you're not the most technical, I train a lot of individual dialers that come in and work for us to make our calls, and also even for some of our clients. Usually that's the last thing that we teach them. And it takes us 15-20 minutes to train them on the dialer. So it's easy. If you've ever used a dialer, even if you didn't get any training, you could figure it out. You go in, click play. Once you're in it, you know what it is. You mouse over. A lot of those things are going to have some tool tips, but mostly you figure out even if you never had any training.
Yeah, 100%. So after this call, guys, and we'll do a couple more questions. If anybody wants to go ahead and sign up, you go to leadchampconnect.com. You can sign up. Recording an AI call summary. Talk to us a little bit about conversational intelligence marketing. Obviously, this is a prompt that we're working on setting up that people are going to see very soon. But talk to us a little bit about the conversational intelligence and how cool that is.
Yeah, so this is actually one of my favorite things personally. Because no matter whether you're an individual agent or you're on a team, feedback is super important. And I've always been told by anybody that's ever coached me, and I coach my agents on the same exact thing. I'm like, hey, every day you should be going in and listening to your calls. Get familiar with the things that you're saying, critique yourself, and improve. But let's be real. Anybody else ever heard that before? I mean, like, you should listen to your call. Okay, you could do that in the system, right? But who actually does it? I mean, I personally don't do it consistently. So what's really nice about the feature that we're talking about here is it can actually just be delivered right up to you. This was what happened on that call, and this is what you need to improve upon. And based off of the type of call, based off of whatever should have or what happened, the AI is going to actually be able to prompt you how to improve the next time. So that's the kind of the gist of what those summaries are going to do. Plus, it's also nice because when you go in and you don't remember exactly what happened next time or the last time, when you go in the next time, you'll see that summary in the notes of the call beforehand and what was said, and you can catch up really quickly. So that's kind of the
Yeah,
gist
so
of
if
it.
anybody's ever been on a Zoom call, you've seen, Josh's AI assistant has joined the call and it summarizes the whole call and sends an email out. What's happening is, same thing here. We can set up a prompt on our side where, let's say, we'll talk a little bit about team members here as we kind of close out and having multiple people inside of your account. But we can set up a prompt where, let's say, it's specifically for setting appointments. Anybody who is at the Ignite event, you remember, hey, here's the 8, things that you need to set an appointment. Hey, here's who I am, here's why I'm calling, confirm that they need something, blah, 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 tell them how it works, clear the schedule, cement it, that whole thing. We can set up a prompting where when the AI listens to the recording, it can then score them, and then say, hey, you forgot to clear the schedule. You forgot to, tell them who you are and why you're calling. Like, we can set up the prompting so that after every single call, there can be feedback on each of those leads, which is so cool. So not only can we get the call summary, we can set it up for summarizing if you did an entire sales call that was 45 minutes long, as well as, the appointment bookings. So that's a really exciting feature that I can't wait for. But kind of transitioning, Mark, talking about, team members. So you can have multiple team members underneath your sub account. So, Josh kind of referenced it in the chat, $147 a month for the first seat. And then every seat after that is $75. I'm not going to mention any names. If anybody on here knows what I'm talking about, the company out there that makes you pay, multiple hundreds of dollars quarterly per seat. And some of you guys are paying $1,000 to $1,500 a quarter for 3 seats, which is crazy. It's wild. So we're giving a 50% off discount code, and we allow monthly, which is awesome, for multiple seats. So Mark, like, what kind of, Josh talked about data. Like, you can see all their data. What are all the things you can do from like an agency manager with, a small team of agents or a big team of agents?
My metric that I always measure off, because we provide you everything from how many calls was placed to the gaps between the calls, like how much total gap for the time for the whole day, the disposition breakdowns, talk time, all of those metrics, right? Your conversion rates, all of those things are provided on the dashboard. My favorite metric to measure myself off of is that it's talk time. If I'm an agent, I know if I had a good day based off of the number of minutes that I had on actual time on the phone speaking. So for me, 250 is my minimum. If I'm not talking at least 250 minutes of talk, then I wasn't being effective. I made a lot of phone calls maybe, but I didn't have a lot of conversations. So that's what I'm measuring myself off of. If I'm a manager, I'm also looking at that. I'm looking at the talk time, because you can fluff calls, right? But you cannot fluff engagement. And then we give you the breakdowns from how many calls it took to have a conversation, like what was your conversation rate, how many of your conversations turned into a conversion, whether it be appointment or sale. Those types of things are super invaluable to be able to identify the gaps. Why is somebody not getting the results that they should be getting? And then you combine that with the coaching, AI coaching component that we were just talking about beforehand, and it really makes your job more fun. Really, it's sometimes you're guessing, but now it's fun because you can look at the numbers and figure out exactly what's going on, and just dive in really fast.
I had one question come in, Mark. If you could run through 30 seconds to a minute or whatever you need. How does it work when 2 people or 3 people are dialing from the same account? So multiple seats, they're all dialing at the same time. How does that work?
For me, that's ideal, because especially if you got a lot of leads coming in, I put everybody into one campaign and they're dialing on leads, the same leads. The system automatically knows what lead to dial next. It knows if a lead's already been dialed, so there's nobody stepping on each other's toes, any of those things. So you can all jump into the same campaign and call leads without worrying about, did Josh just call this guy or not? So it's taking care of all that for you.
Yeah, and one thing that I was considering is you can create permissions based on your dialer campaigns. So let's say you bring in a sub member to your account. I could say, Dylan's my new teammate. He's brand new, and I only want Dylan to dial my 90-day plus leads. He doesn't have access to my new leads. I can set up permission where when Dylan logs in, that is the only dialer campaign that he sees. And now I can go ahead and I can dial all my, new leads, and I can have agents dial my 12,000 old leads, which is pretty cool. And I could have 10 agents sitting in that campaign of 12,000 leads all at the same time, dialing through, not stepping on each other's toes. And as long as they disposition the leads, nobody's calling the same lead twice, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's actually something that's pretty powerful. And also too, taking those leads that do have conversations answers and dropping them into your campaign automatically is another powerful thing. So
absolutely. I love it. Okay, Mark. One last thing. This is more of a fun question because we have a couple people on here who they get really excited about new technologies that come out. Just talking a little bit about AI. So the way that the world is going, spam protection, AI, everything that's happening, we've gotten really excited about AI from a texting perspective, and AI sets, probably 40% of the appointments in Lead Champ Pro. It's set tens of thousands of appointments at this point for our users via text. I've seen inbound AI work super well, where you can have like an AI receptionist that if somebody calls back and answers the phone, helps set an appointment. But there's this like shiny object thing about outbound AI. Everybody's like, how do I avoid the work? And this is not like, against anybody in particular, but there's a lot of people out there in our industry that just don't want to work. And they think that AI is the solution to everything. And they think outbound AI is the way that they'll never have to act. They could just make mailbox money and never have to do anything again. What is your perspective on where we're at from an outbound perspective versus a real person calling today?
People want to talk to people. And I mean, if you just think about yourself, if you pick up the phone to make a phone call, or if you answer a phone call, you expect that there's going to be a human on the other end of the line. And no matter how good the voice is, right, it's not a human. And if we're not stupid, most people, there are probably some people that can be fooled, but not enough to where like you're just giving yourself, you're giving yourself more work, right? What we've seen from the numbers, and we've done it. We were one of the first ones to drop the outbound dialing for AI into our system. It's available. But my challenge with it is that the numbers don't really speak. They don't show that people are ready for it at this point. Not saying that it's not ever going to be there, because you never say never. The AI is getting better, calls are getting better. I think where we are from the AI side of things, and this is just like I said from my best guess based off of what I've seen is that we're probably a couple of years away from humans being willing to have those conversations that need to be had in order to convert, um, to be able to convert without the human on the phone. But at this point, what we've been doing that's been working really well is using it as a like a an assistant, like a really good assistant, making you into like a cyborg, right? So you've got the SMS coming in, so you don't have to think about the SMS because you, like you said, 40%. So I think actually the AI converts better on a text than I do, because I've seen some of the stuff it's able to do, especially when people get ticked off. Like it's really good at not escalating something to the next level where I might be a little bit snappy with somebody, AI won't. So that's one thing I do love on the SMS side. On the voice side of things as well, I think if you give the human a reason why it's talking to AI that makes sense, then it's also very good. It's like, hey, you've called in right now. Mark's on the other line. He cannot take this call, but he knows that I'm on the phone with you right now. I can answer some questions, then I'm going to pass these notes over to him, or maybe by then he might be able to join us. And at that point, now the AI can take your inbound call, start answering some or asking some questions, getting some answers, and then our system will then, put that into your account, and then eventually pass that call over to you if they're still on, if you're available, or if it's after hours. That's the other way I've seen the AI really being useful at this point. But outside of that, I would not count on it to be your full-time salesperson, or appointment setter or any of those things, because if so, you're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, opportunity cost. I mean, there's cost and then there's opportunity cost because, I don't know I don't know the extra credits that's going to cost. We don't need to get into that, but I know other solutions are sometimes thousands of dollars a month for the outbound AI. And I've seen a lot of them get fluffed
It's affordable.
up. Yeah.
It's affordable. It's not the cost. It's the cost that you're losing opportunities.
Yeah.
You're losing leads that you would have converted. That's the problem I have with it.
I mean, I even see it from the perspective, this will be one of the last things I say, is I have a appointment setter who is transparently in the Philippines, and she's super kind. And then I go and I look at her appointment set and I see, she had 14 people hang up the phone for a day. I will specifically go and see who are the people who hung up the phone, and I will call them myself. And I book 100% of the people who answer, almost always. And that just makes me realize they're not hanging up because they don't want the insurance. They're hanging up because she has an accent. So are they going to hang up if they have an accent, or if it's a robot? Same people are going to hang up the phone. So I look at the opportunity cost of sometimes even my appointment setter dialing on my behalf, and maybe she'll dial all day and she'll set 5 appointments, and then I'll take an hour out of my morning and dial and set 5 appointments. And it's like, what was and then I look at the show rate. In terms of show rate, I'd say right now my AI texted and set appointments are my highest show rate out of anything that I have. My lowest show rate are self-booked appointments. It's like 10 to 15%. If someone goes to my calendar and books an appointment, 90% chance they're not showing up. It's the worst. If somebody gets on the phone with me and I talk to them, 50-50. 50% show rate, I'm happy with that. If my dialer does it, 20-25% of the time they show. So, from AI is booking 40% of everything that it talks to. So, or that it actually converses with. So, I mean, that's exciting for me. So, guys, at the end of the day, Mark, thank you so much for coming on here. This is going to continue to improve. There are lots of new features and different things. We built this obviously with all of our Lead Champ Pro users in mind. First caveat here for the first couple weeks, you must be a Lead Champ Pro user currently to use the Connect Power Dialer because of the integration. We have another package coming for those who are just going to use this as a standalone product here soon, where you'll have just a slightly different variation of some of these dialer buckets because they don't need to connect to Lead Champ because you're just using that. That might be for your brand new agent. We talk about kind of graduating to Lead Champ Pro. A brand new agent maybe doesn't need all of the robust features that Lead Champ has, but everybody, should have a power dialer when they're first getting started. So for now, for the first couple weeks, you have to be a Lead Champ Pro user to get the power dialer. Give it a couple weeks, and we will have a standalone Connect dialer for somebody who just wants to upload a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. So we're excited. Thank you so much, Mark, for getting on.
My pleasure. Can I just end with one quick little note for everybody?
Please.
Um, we've been analyzing incoming calls, or sorry, lead companies who are advertising online lately a lot, and we've found industry wide. It doesn't matter what industry it is. We've found from we're basically what we're doing is we're auditing their lead funnels, and we've found that about half of everybody doesn't even call their leads. And those that are calling their leads are calling 5 to 15 hours, depending on the industry, 5 to 15 hours from the time that that lead opts in. So all I'm saying, like, guys, the way this is set up is to put you into the small, the 80-20 rule. This is going to put you into the 20%. You're going to have the ability to crush it. So just don't be part of the 50% or even the 80%. That's all I want to end with. You guys are in for a treat.
I love it. So guys, leadchampconnect.com. You can come here, you can sign up, $147 a month. We're going to integrate all your leads. We're going to do about 80% of everything for you. Once you're in, all you need to do is watch the video on how to dial and how to flick a couple settings on after you buy your phone numbers. Other than that, go click the play button and good luck. Thank you, Mark. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.